And we are back. It is 1 minute away from 3:33 p.m. Eastern Time. And if it's Sunday and it's 3:33, then we're here. So welcome everybody. I usually like to get started a little bit before 3:33. But today we were right on the nose, so let's get to it. I am excited as always to join you all on Sundays. I look forward to this particular live all week long. I'm going to make it a habit to... Lindsay, how are you? How are you? Happy Sunday to you as well. Absolute pleasure to see you. Love the fact that you are always on time and keep me on point as well. But yeah, I anticipate this all week long. Ash, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Fashion Imaginarium. Thanks for the gift. As always, during these particular lives, I will never ask you guys to gift, but I appreciate you all that choose to do so. But us spending the time together is the gift for the day. Sweet 88, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Rhonda, welcome. Ash says, I haven't gotten my book yet, but it's on its way. I can't wait for it to arrive, Ash. And as you may already know, when you do get your journal, all of these sessions are uploaded live to our YouTube, where you can go and rewatch all of these videos. So when you actually get your journal, if you go back to the first live and they're all labeled, you'll be able to do the fill in the blank activities with us, which is what I really focus on Sundays, are the fill in the blank activities. But I'm always excited leading into this. I'm always excited when the weekend gets here. I'm excited earlier in the day on Sunday. And then right around 3:30, I get super excited. And then I'm ready to go. So I'm glad that each and every one of you is here. This is probably going to be one of the biggest audience or crowds that we've had, because I know that many people have been showing a lot of interest in the content around the Shadow Work Journal and just in the information that I've been putting out. So welcome everybody. To all the regulars, Bonnet Baby, welcome. Everybody that's new, appreciate you joining us on Sundays. We do this each and every Sunday at 3:33 p.m. where essentially we're talking about the Shadow Work Journal, but ultimately what I'm doing on Sundays is what I've called Sunday Serving. And it's a platform to allow people a space to heal. That's essentially what this space is for. It's what I've created this space for. I've been doing something similar to this the entire time that I've been on TikTok. When I started going lives, my lives were exactly that: safe spaces for people to heal, for people to talk about the different experiences that they've had, and then to receive some advice, some wisdom, and some guidance on how to get to a better place. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be covering fill in the blank activity number 6 in the Shadow Work Journal. But I'm also going to focus a lot of my attention today, after we get done with the activity. I want to focus on talking about fear. Very, very good activity today, the one that we'll be covering in the journal. So before we get started, again, I'm just going to do a quick check-in here. Everybody that's here for the first time, welcome. We appreciate you joining us on this healing journey. If you're here in anticipation of receiving your journal, welcome. You can catch all of these videos and all of this content on YouTube. The YouTube page is in my bio here on TikTok. It is youtube.com/@girl_dad. That's where you can find this video a little bit later this evening, and all the other videos from what we've covered on the previous Sundays. So as normal, we're going to start with our breathing activities. before we get started. And if you do have your journal, it's one of the things that is recommended is that you do a grounding activity before and after you do any type of shadow work. And the purpose is that you want to be present in your body. You want to be present and not distracted by things that you had going on in your mind, things that you had going on earlier in the day, or things that you need to do. But the purpose of that grounding is so that you're present in the moment before you actually start doing any type of shadow work. So I do a breathing activity that I find to be very helpful for me. Is one that I learned while practicing Tai Chi. So we'll start off with that breathing activity. I'll do a little bit of housekeeping, and then we're going to go straight into the fill in the blank activity part 6 in the journal. And then once we cover the activity, I want to really focus and speak about fear today, because I've come to understand the way that fear is used in society at large. And I've come to understand how fear positions you to be not only manipulated, not only controlled, but fear is also used to disarm you. Fear is also used to disarm you of the powerful being and the powerful tools that you have available to you. So we'll talk about that. So again, welcome everybody. I appreciate you all being here. It's always a pleasure to get us together on Sundays to go through the Shadow Work Journal, to talk about healing, and to pour life, love, and wisdom into each other. That is the whole goal of what I'm creating this platform for. That is the goal of the eventual podcast that's coming. Oh my God, this is exactly, I won't even, that's exactly the goal of the podcast is coming, the I Am Healing podcast, where we're just creating a space for people to really learn different tools and different resources to help them along on their healing journey. So the breathing exercise that we're going to start with, and then we're going to jump straight into the activity today, is one that I learned during Tai Chi. And essentially what you want to do as you start breathing, you want to focus your mind on the very pit of your stomach, your very lower abdomen. That's where you want to pull the air into. And the way that you know that you're doing this breathing activity correctly, anyway, we can get a book to Wendy. I'm on a time budget. I would love to get this book and would help. So we are doing, if we don't do one at the end of today, we will do a giveaway either this week or Sunday coming. But definitely send me a direct message if it's something that we can do. There's several people that have been reaching out to me that are actually willing to gift the journal to others. So if you're someone that's willing to gift the journal to someone else, send me a direct message. Clearly, there are people that would love to join us on this healing journey, but just don't have the resources to actually get the journal right now. So we can kind of make those connections. I can be the middleman and making sure that that happens and facilitating that we get that journal to whoever needs it. But send me a direct message. If it's something that we can make happen, we definitely will. So this breathing activity, what you want to do is, and the way that you know you're doing this activity properly is because your stomach should inflate before your chest does. And that's how you know that you're actually pulling the air into the pit of your stomach. And that's where you want to focus your mind. So as you inhale, you want to kind of focus your mind on watching that air go down to the pit of your stomach. And then when you exhale, you just want to slowly pull your stomach in and slowly push that air out. If you know other grounding activities that you do, any other grounding activities that you practice to really help you center yourself, you can do any one of those. This is just an activity that I personally like to do because it works well for me. But it's just recommended that you do grounding before and after you do shadow work. Again, the whole purpose is to make sure that you're present in the moment and present in your body so that you can actually go through the processes that you need to. All right. So with that said, we're going to go into our breathing exercise. Then I'm going to do a little bit of direction so we all know where we are in the book. And then we'll get started with today's activity. And then after today's activity, we're going to talk in depth about fear and how fear can hinder you on any journey or any mission, and how fear is really contrary to your progress. All right. So first thing I like to do is always check my shoulders. I can always tell if I'm relaxed because it always kind of sits in my shoulders. So once I'm relaxed on my shoulders, then it's simply a matter of inhale and exhale. Take your time. Again, this is a centering activity just to ground yourself and make sure you're present in the moment. All right. So I usually like to go for about 30 seconds to a minute. You can go longer than that. If I didn't have to get back on here and start getting to the content, I can do that breathing activity for a significant amount of time. It just really helps me to relax and center myself. One of the things that I also measure while I'm doing that breathing activity is how clear can I get my mind? So the longer you do this, and one of the things, and I'll say this real quick before we get to the content, Teresa, it is at girl underscore dad. That is my YouTube handle. At girl underscore dad. YouTube.com/ at girl underscore dad is how you can find me on YouTube. One of the things, or one of the misconceptions about meditating or doing any type of breathing exercises is there's this expectation that your mind just clears up if you're doing it right. That's not true, right? What I always recommend to people, if you're new to doing breathing activities or just meditating, do not be afraid of your mind wandering. That is a part of the process. Armageddon Diva, how are you? That's a part of the process. Don't be afraid of your mind wandering while you're doing a breathing activity or when you first start meditating. The goal is not to try to control or direct those thoughts. Your goal is to find something that you're going to focus on. And when you're doing a breathing activity, usually wherever you want to pull that air to, you want to set your mind there. But don't try to fight the other thoughts that are happening. Let them happen. Because what's happening is, once you go into that state of doing a breathing activity or meditating and you find yourself in a still space, those thoughts are the same thoughts that have been running down your subconscious. So when they're coming forth, just let them come forth and wash away, right? Don't fight them. Don't try to control them, because those are the thoughts that are running your subconscious mind. And many times, unbeknownst to you, that's causing anxiety and stress in your body. The longer you sit in that still state without trying to fight those thoughts, eventually the speed of those thoughts will slow down and calm down. All right. So where we are in the journal. So Shadow Work Journal, we are doing the fill in the blank activity part 6. So if you're new to the journal, the first part of the journal is just an introduction. And it's basically an introduction into shadow work. If you're just receiving your journal, I recommend that you read that section very well. There's good information in there that you're gonna find useful to kind of give you some context as to how to do your shadow work, why you're doing your shadow work, and why it's important. Definitely read that. And then once you're done with that section, you're gonna go to shadow work activities part 2, and this is where we are. The first part of this is really talking about wound mapping, really understanding what are the character traits that comes out of the different types of wounds that we experience as a part of your trauma, or as a part of your upbringing, or as a part of just being in environments that are not and were not conducive to your well-being. Thank you for the gift. Again, as I always tell you guys, this particular live, I would never ask you to gift. If you do so, I'm grateful and I appreciate it. But this is the gift of us sharing this time, is the gift. And that's really what I focus on this live. So we are on part 6 of the fill in the blank activity. And as far as the fill in the blank activities go, what I focus on is kind of giving some guidance on the actual fill in the blank activity, but I focus more so on the reflection questions, because many people have been reaching out to me, and I knew this myself when I actually went through the journal, that if you haven't really done any self-healing or any type of self-help, it's hard to really answer these questions and know what are the tools that you can apply to your life. And that's why I focus on this part on Sundays, because I know that that can be the hardest part. And from the feedback that I've gotten from most people that have reached out to me, that's the part where they need the most help. Christine, thank you. I appreciate that. Many Nations Tribe, I would, but I am tapped, just catching up bills after a large vet bill. Understood. We'll see what we can do. I mean, you are a subscriber to the live, so is there a major difference between the two versions of the journals? The content is the same. The second edition has more activities in it, but the content is essentially the same. And I've reviewed both of them. Zenful Note actually sent me both, so I reviewed them both. All right. So today's fill in the blank activity, this is where the journal starts to transition from just what may have occurred or what you may have encountered in your childhood, and really it starts to transition to seeing and tracking how those occurrences had a long-term impact on you. So this activity is kind of that turning point where you start to talk about, hey, growing up, this is how I reacted to different things. And you'll see that as we go over the fill in the blank activities, but also more so you'll see that as we go over the reflection questions. All right. General advice that I give everyone, if you're just getting your journal and if you're just getting started, get yourself a second notebook with just blank pages in it, because your answers may be more than what you can fit in these spaces, or more than what you can fit in the space provided. And you don't want to be limiting your expression to just a space issue. So get yourself a separate journal. And that's where you want to write your answers. And then the most important thing, first of all, it's your work, right? It's your healing journey. It's you going back to things that may have happened in your life and you answering those questions. So the most important thing is for you to be honest, because the journal won't be effective for you if you're not honest in the way that you answer these questions, right? So when you're answering these questions, the most important thing is for you to be honest. And then beyond that is really your pace, your healing journey, and however you get to that information. But as long as you're being honest, then the journal can really help you and be the tool that you need to assist you along your healing journey. All right. And if you haven't gotten one right now, it is back in stock. You can go to any one of the videos on my page and just click the link. By ordering the journal through a link on my page, you not only get yourself a copy, but you support what I'm doing here on TikTok with the journal. Now, one of the things that Sunday makes it different and unique is because I'm really doing these on Sunday for people that may be interested but haven't gotten a journal. But to be very transparent, is for people that have gotten a journal, to give them that additional guidance on how to complete the shadow work as a part of their healing journey. All right. But you can still follow along. If you don't have the journal, you can still find this information useful. And really, until you get yourself a journal, you can always go to the YouTube page, and then all the videos are in chronological order of the different parts that we've already worked on. So today we're going to be doing fill in the blank activity part 6. general advice for doing the fill in the blank activities. It's however you do it, whatever works best for you. What I do when I was completing the fill in the blank activities, when I read the first sentence, whatever came to my mind, that's what I put in the blank, right? I didn't take time to really process and think about it. I went with my instinctive answer first and did the entire paragraph. And then once I was done with the paragraph, excuse me, I read it again. And then I took a moment to really process and think and go within to see what other answers would come up. There were times when the answers were very similar, and there were times when the answers were starkly different. Here's what I realized. If I'm giving this answer as a part of this fill in the blank activity, both of those answers are valid and valuable. So keep them both. Again, that's why it's always going to be important to have you a secondary binder or some type of journal with just blank pages in it so that you can make your notes there. All right. Black Beauty, welcome. So I'm going to go ahead and process or go ahead and start this fill in the blank activity so that we can get to the reflection questions, which is where we're really going to focus our time and our attention. So as I grow older, I feel like the blank part of me becomes further and further away. I feel blank towards this. Sometimes I put myself in a box by blank. I understand that I am ever changing and evolving each day. One way I can foster my child self is by blank and blank. I will always recognize the blank part of me and show that version of myself love and recognition. So again, this is the part where the journal really starts kind of focusing you to moving along your journey. So the first 4 or 5 activities were, again, very much focused on wound mapping and really understanding the characteristics that came out of whatever that interaction was that you had as far as your traumatic experience or just the environment that you grew up in. And now the journal starts to transition to really getting an understanding of how you were impacted by those experiences. So what I do with the fill in the blank activity, I don't expect us to actually do the activities together here on live, right? Because these are things that is going to take you some time to do your reflection. But I just kind of give you an idea of a productive way to approach each activity and maybe a little bit of insight on what that activity is trying to pull out of you, right? So as I grow older, I feel like blank part of me becomes further and further away. So having done this activity already, and really taking the time to process and doing it in my own part of my journey, going through the journal, I found that because I had already done so much of this work prior to getting the journal, a lot of the things that I would write were areas that I had already kind of worked on. So I would find it kind of difficult sometimes to find that place because I've already worked on some of those things. And this is where I found it important to share this advice with people. Doing this journal it's not the trauma Olympics, right? They're going to be parts of the journal. We're on part 6, fill in the blank activity. And if you just got your journal, there's nothing wrong with jumping in where we are as far as the activity that we're on, because there's not a sequence that you need to follow for these activities to be effective. Okay. And then when you get a chance, go to the YouTube page, watch all of the videos that cover each activity so you can get that additional guidance. But so what I found here was, and one of the answers when I was doing the journal as a part of just studying to do this presentation with you all, what kept sticking out to me for that blank was, as I grow older, I feel like the fearful part of me becomes further and further away. And the reason for that is I knew what the root of that fear was, and I knew where it came from. So as I was doing my own work and on my own healing journey, having addressed a lot of those things, that fear doesn't really sit with me as it used to. I was intrigued by the video you posted about team's response. Do I write down everything I don't like about myself in order to find the root of that? So, Black Beauty, that's a great question. It's not necessarily a matter of what you don't like about yourself. It's more so taking a moment to really ask yourself what the blank is looking for, and then being transparent with yourself and writing down what truly comes up, right? So as I grow older, I feel like blank part of me becomes further and further away. There are people that may feel like as they grow older, they feel like the hurt part of themselves gets further and further away, right? There's people that may feel like as they grow older, they feel like the compassionate part of themselves. There's any answer that fits in your experience, but it's also important to recognize that not every blank in these activities will require an answer from you. If there's nothing that you find that resonates within you when you're doing any one of the fill in the blank activities, that's fine. That's okay, right? Even if it's something that you've already worked on, if it's a part of yourself that you've already worked on, that you've already done some healing in, then that's fine. You don't have to create something or create a scenario just to do the fill in the blank activity. Trauma is what I meant to say. I was intrigued by the video you posted about trauma response. Sethy boy, all right, I'm glad you clarified because I was a little confused, like, huh? Christine said, I feel younger part of me is becoming further away. I work to keep connected to little me. Mine was past because it was traumatic and I have been doing shadow work a while. I can relate to that, Many Nations. I think the anger at people who fail. Lori, that's good. That's good. As I grow older, the anger at people who failed me goes further and further away. And what that speaks to is not just the growing older part, right? It's the finding peace within you. Because here's what happens. No matter what your trauma is, no matter what you've experienced, either in your childhood or even in your adult years, if that experience, or if you are still struggling with how you've processed that experience, right? Which is why doing your own shadow work and really going on this healing journey and really healing your soul is really is another way to look at what shadow work is. Is another reason why it's so important, because if you are still struggling with how you have processed what happened to you, it is more likely that you are still also holding on to the anger towards those who you feel like inflicted that pain on you, right? The more that you start to heal within you, because everything will always start from within you. The more that you start to heal within you, and you are no longer struggling with how you have processed and how you've dealt with it, you start to find that the value of your anger towards those people no longer serves you. See, because if I'm constantly looking at turmoil in my life that is associated with what you did to me, every day that I see that turmoil in my life, I think of you. As I get more healed and as I come to a better place in my life and I see myself in a better place, I am no longer associating these experiences with you necessarily. So the anger that you may have had towards those people no longer holds a value to you. Here's the other thing. We know that by holding anger and unforgiveness towards somebody else, you are carrying that burden. The old saying goes, it's like you drinking poison and expecting the person to be harmed by it, right? So as it should happen that way. That anger, those emotions that are associated with people, especially those negative emotions, as you heal, as you grow, and as you start finding peace within yourself, you no longer want to carry that burden. In fact, I find myself in a space now where I say, I don't have the capacity to hate. I just don't have it. I don't have the capacity to carry hatred, to carry resentment for anybody. I just don't have the capacity for it. Sethy Boy said, I don't carry anger, but carry fear of being alone for a long time. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about fear, and we're going to talk about the fear of being alone. That's good, Sethy Boy. I'm glad you mentioned that, and thank you for sharing that. Just Be Kind, period, said, oh my God, I came in at the moment you say what I always say. What is that did you always say, just be kind? Yes, it was like having a worm. It was like having a worm in my head. I was unable to see anything but what they did. And so sometimes it happens in two different ways. All right, Sethy Boy, we'll see you when you get back. Guess God brought me to the right place. Just be kind. Absolutely. Nobody that's here is here by any type of accident. You either were anticipating being here or you stumbled upon this live for reasons that only you can determine. But our conversations are always purposeful, and the energy around our conversation is meant for those that it resonates with. So many people will come into here and go, oh no, they're talking about positivity, people healing, people being better, people being the best version of themselves that they can be. That's not what some people are resonating with. That's not the energy that some people are in. Some people are in an energy that they need drama. So they come to TikTok looking for those lives that are going to be about that. But if you're in an energy where you're looking for a space that is going to pull the best out of you and that's going to push you and encourage you and love on you, then you're going to be attracted and drawn to these conversations. Mine was healing my inner child and teen, now processing adult trauma. Actually, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So the second blank says, I feel blank towards this. Sometimes I put myself in a box by. So if for instance, we'll use the example that someone gave in saying that I feel like the anger towards those who let me down, part of me becomes further and further away. Then the next blank is I feel blank towards this. That would be a good feeling, right? So I'm not going to go into step by step of the blanks and how to fill them in, because that is something that you should do with some insight and some thought within yourself so that you're given an honest reflection of what you've gone through. But what I will focus on are the reflection questions, because this is really the meat and potatoes. This is the applicable part that you can add to your life. And this is where I find that most people kind of struggle with the journal. So this is where I want to focus, right? So the first reflection question is, what do I admire about my past self that I wish I can continue to foster more in the present day? I'm going to read that again, and then I'm going to read some of you all's answers, and then I'll kind of speak on the notes that I took about this question. So the question is, what do I admire about my past self that I wish I could continue to foster more in the present day? So what do you guys have? I want to read some of your answers, and then I'll touch on what my notes are. Ashley says, I'm resilient. So Ashley, were you resilient back then, like within who you were prior to being today, right? I think the question, and what that question is trying to drive is a connection with, watch this, a connection with the parts of us that we abandon as a means of adjusting to the environment in order to survive. So for instance, I'll give you a good example. All children had a natural curiosity, right? To want to explore, to want to learn things, to want to do new things. Depending on the environment that you grew up in, if that environment wasn't conducive to you being a child that could ask questions and people allowed you to, or that could go explore and people allowed you to, then sometimes you quell that part of yourself. You subdue that part of yourself. You subdue that natural inquisitiveness. You subdue those types of things about yourself. So the question, that reflection question, is really trying to get to, what are some things about you that you look back on and you say, man, I used to be that person, or I used to be that way, but in order to fit in, or because of what happened to me, or because I needed to adjust so that I can be safe, or I can be more comfortable in the environment that I was in, I abandoned those parts of me, but I want to continue to foster those parts of myself. I want to bring back. So I'll give you an example. Some people used to be very fun, loving, and joyful children until that whatever happened to them, right? And then they lost that sense of joy, that sense of just having a blissful personality. That's where that reflection question is trying to drive you to. So I'm going to go back here so I can catch a few of your answers. Tina Cunningham says more empathy. Christine said, my strength in doing what I feel is best for me. I like that. Velvet Mirror says, I was more playful, less scared of people seeing me exist. You know, I remember there was not much of a time in my childhood where I didn't care about what people thought about me. And the reason being is because the sense of self-worth wasn't built into my childhood upbringing, I was always trying to fit in, right? I was always trying to associate my value with the people that I was connected to. So that meant that I was constantly worried and concerned with what people thought about me. And even now, when I see myself overly operating in those spaces, I pull back and sit myself down and have a quick chat with myself, right? So, and Becky, one of my sisters on here, did a really great post about this, about just being comfortable with being who you are and being okay with not everybody accepting who you are, and that being okay. Because one of the things that happens when we don't have that self-value and self-worth built into our upbringing, we become attached to people needing to validate us. Or we become attached to things needing to validate us. We become attached to possessions needing to validate us, right? And without knowing it, we go into our adult years doing the exact same thing. I'll give you a great example of this. Many of us that grew up with a sense of poverty, we have this I was trying to think of the rap lyric that encapsulated this, but we have this overly sense of, we overly compensate for having grew up in lack by thinking that the things that we own validates us now. And what you find is there's a certain level of wealth or a certain level of financial gain where people don't care about that. They don't care about how people perceive them based on their possessions. But for many people that grew up in poverty and had those kind of traumatic experiences because of what you didn't have and how people treated you and how people talk to you, you see that overcompensating even in their adult lives. And if you're not aware of yourself enough to be able to catch yourself when you're in those spaces, you're subconsciously behaving that way without any awareness that's a part of your actions and how you're moving. Just be kind, period. So that is what I do now. And I check myself and remember what the hell I have survived in this life. And listen, as a part of your healing journey, right? You will always be your most effective life coach. I'm going to say that again. As a part of your healing journey, you will always be your most effective life coach. What I mean by that is you can work on a thing and it will still rear its head up sometimes. And you have to be the one that has the awareness to say, hey, that's not us anymore. And then talk yourself into an understanding of why that's not you anymore. Right? Like, it requires work on your part. Here's the thing. So people say to me, hey, I really like your content. I like your life story. I want to know if you can be my life coach, right? And if I feel like what I can offer will help you, I open those relationships, right? And then what I find is that people expect that I am going to be the crutch for the work that they're not willing to do themselves. I can only be a secondary coach for you. You have to be your primary coach. You have to be the one that recognizes yourself in the moment when those thoughts that don't serve your best interest come up. You have to be the one that catches that thought and then use your audible voice to speak against or speak what you actually desire of yourself. Most of us think that most of us identify with the things that we think. I'm going to say that again, and this is important. I had to learn this, and we talked about this last week or earlier last week when we did the live. I had to learn that there are thoughts that come out of my mind that do not belong to me. Put a 1 in the chat if you understand what that means. There are thoughts that come out of your mind that do not belong to you. Just because it came out of your mind does not mean you attach yourself to it. If that thought does not serve your long-term best interest, you have an obligation as your primary life coach to go, that doesn't belong to me. I do not receive that. That is not my portion. That is not my thought. That is not me. That is not who I am. Not knowing this information, there are people, I want you to think about it like this, and very sensitive, trigger warning, very sensitive topic. There are people that have unalived themselves because they accepted thoughts that came out of their mind as who they were. And because those thoughts, once they attached themselves to those thoughts and said, this thought doesn't serve my best interest, but because it came out of my mind, I belong to it and it belongs to me. They then allowed those thoughts to become a part of who they are, and they associate themselves with those thoughts to the point of those thoughts driving them to not wanting to be here anymore. So you have to understand, just because, and I'm going to explain to you what I mean by it doesn't belong to you, and you're going to clearly understand it. Just because a thought comes out of your mind does not mean you own it, does not mean you belong to it, or does not mean it belongs to you. What trumps your thoughts are your words. That is why you have to learn how to be your primary life coach. You have to be the person that is audibly, with your voice that you can hear, speaking to you all the time, especially when it comes to rewriting your subconscious mind. Now, here's what I mean by those thoughts don't belong to you. Think of your think of your mind and your subconscious mind as a computer hard drive, right? You may have, you go through experiences in your life, especially in your childhood, and there are files that are downloaded onto that hard drive. Think of it this way, and this is very plain to get. When you're a child, you're not conscious enough to guard your hard drive. It is the responsibility of the people around you to put you in an environment that the information that is being downloaded onto your hard drive will serve your best interest in the long run. So, for example, part of what's supposed to be getting downloaded onto your hard drive as a child is your sense of identity and your sense of self-worth. If those things were not intentionally downloaded into you, spoken into you, if you weren't treated in a way that made sure those things were foundationally a part of how you saw yourself and how you were developing in your character, then you were left to receive whatever the world or the contrary of what they were giving you. So, for instance, if they weren't speaking life into you, if they weren't speaking worth and value into you, right, there's a very strong likelihood they were speaking the opposite, which is negativity. You ain't worth nothing. You're not going to be nothing. You're dumb and all of those things, right? So if they were speaking those things into you when you were younger, or even if you were in an emotionally vulnerable relationship with somebody as an adult and they were verbally abusing you, what happens is this: those thoughts or those words get downloaded into your subconscious mind. The thing about your subconscious mind, especially if this happens to you as a child, your subconscious is that operating system in the back of your computer that's just running all the time. It's not what you necessarily see on the screen, but it's running, right? So if this is what was downloaded into you, or let's say even for instance that, and this happens to a lot of adults, let's say you didn't have those foundational principles downloaded into your mind, but they also didn't speak negative to you, right? What happens in a world or in a society that only sees you as valuable based on the role that you are needed to play to keep the system running? If you haven't had those foundational values embedded in you, then you adopt what and who society says that you are, and you adopt the value that society attributes to you. And if you're in a society that only sees you as a possible tool for someone else to use, then that is the only way you associate value to yourself. Here's why those thoughts are not yours. Because this vessel was designed to protect itself. This vessel was designed to protect itself. That's why you have emotions. Your emotions are a part of this vessel's information system so that it protects itself. Knowing that your body, this vessel, was designed to do that, then you have to then conclude and understand that anything that comes out of this vessel that does not serve the best interest of the vessel was put there and is not coming from its own natural, or it wasn't originated in the vessel. So when you hear these thoughts, because most of us are driven by our thoughts, because we associate and we think that it's my thought, I own it. You don't, right? But if you don't know that and you get a thought that says you're never going to achieve that, and you don't do anything, that's happening back here. That thought didn't come out of nowhere, right? We think like, oh man, that negative thought came out of nowhere. No, it came from a place. It came from a file that's on your hard drive. That didn't just pop up out of nowhere. Remember, we talked about this on several Sundays. Your emotions are your body's information system. Your emotions are designed to give you information and not directions. So when your body is giving you information, here's what information looks like when it comes out of your subconscious mind, right? When you start hearing negative thoughts about you, rather than struggling and fighting with it, here's what you need to understand. Okay, that thought came out of a file that's on my hard drive somewhere. Why would I think that about myself? Why would I think that I would fail? That thought doesn't serve my own best interest. Where is it coming from? This is the process that you find in doing shadow work. This is the process that you find in doing these activities in the journal, right? It helps you get to the root of where this file is on my hard drive and how it got there. Make sense? Put a 1 in the comment if that makes sense. And then we'll finish the first question and move on to the next one. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Good. All right, Maya moving forward with painful situations and successing anyway. Now I think too much before moving. I also, who's that? Alora Ace. I also had that problem, right? And I'm gonna tell you where it came from for me. The reason I overthought things before moving is because I was afraid of failure. The reason I was afraid of failure is because I was called a failure my entire life. Well, not my entire life, most of my childhood. So it developed in me this sense of I must succeed. Everything that I do has to be right. It has to be perfect. And I realized even though those attributes of I must succeed, I must get it right, even though all those attributes are things that an employer would love in you, right? Even a potential partner would love in you. I also had to recognize that those attributes were still surfacing out of a negative place. Because along with those attributes also came this overthinking, this fear of failing, this inability to accept that failure is a part of life. And sometimes you just have to go. So even though sometimes like we develop these parts of ourselves that we think, man, I went through that, but look at how great I am. That's good, right? But you got to also remember, if there are attributes or characteristics about you that came out of your trauma that you praise about yourself, those are the things that you're conscious of. There are also attributes and things that came out of your trauma that are happening in your subconscious mind that are seeping their way into your behavior and thought patterns that don't serve you. And if you don't go back and do that work, you will not be able to identify them. But the people around you when you're triggered, the people around you when you're upset, the people around you when things don't go your way, they see it and they feel it, because that's how the things in your subconscious mind come out. They come out as boom. They don't go through your filter of your conscious mind. They usually just act. And that's what being triggered really is rooted in, is that there's something in your subconscious mind that you haven't made peace with, that you haven't found a means of understanding and being whole about or healing from, that every time a situation or a subject touches that thing, it is so sensitive inside of you that your reaction is first to try to protect yourself. And then for some people, it's to lash out as a means of trying to protect yourself. But Christine, you're listen, if there's one thing that you get from this live today, I want you to understand that every thought that you think does not belong to you. And you have to be able to open your mouth and speak to every thought that comes up in your mind that does not belong to you. Because you have 3 creative faculties, actually 4. 1 are your thoughts, 2 are your words, 3 are your deeds, and then the 4th is what we will call faith as an emotion. So what I describe as faith as an emotion is if anxiety, the emotion of being anxious, is anticipation of the negative in overdrive, then faith as an emotion is anticipation of the positive outcome in overdrive. So that is your 4th emotional faculty. Your feelings, how you feel, not just anger or sad, but no, how you feel towards what your mind is on, right? And if your thoughts don't align with what's in your best interest, what's more powerful than your thoughts are your words. So every time a thought comes up in your mind that doesn't align with your best interest, you open your mouth and you speak what you desire for yourself, and you disassociate yourself from those thoughts. Because once you speak it, your subconscious mind just takes directions. It is your conscious mind that wrestles with things. The things that are embedded in your subconscious mind, they're on autopilot. So once you start telling those thoughts, you don't belong to me, in a situation that would normally trigger those thoughts, eventually those thoughts, that file that those thoughts are coming out of, that file now becomes filled with the words that you've been speaking into that file, into that part of your mind. So that whenever that situation that normally would have triggered those thoughts arises again, when that file opens up on your hard drive, what now comes out are the words that you've been speaking into it. So I'll give you an example. So if you're somebody that have dealt with self-degrading thoughts, right? And when you find yourself in situations where there's a potential for you to do something, you always find that your thoughts are self-degrading. You're not going to do that. You're not going to be able to do that. First of all, I promise you, somebody else used to talk to you like that. That's the first thing. If you are one of those people, I was, where my thoughts were always self-defeating, it's because someone else used to speak to me that way. And that part got embedded in my subconscious mind as a part of how I thought. So whenever I would find myself in a situation where there was a potential for me to achieve something, for me to accomplish something, those negative statements were replaying. And I knew those are not my thoughts. Those thoughts don't belong to me. So then I started speaking what did belong to me. I can achieve that. I can accomplish that. Look how far I've come. Look what I overcame in the past, right? So then over time, whenever I would find myself in a situation where I can achieve something, where I had the chance to accomplish something, those words that I had been speaking were the words that would come up now. Compared to whereas before, the words that would come up were the words that were spoken to me by somebody else. This is why we do shadow work. That's the process of it. Understanding how experiences have left an imprint in your subconscious mind and how that imprint plays out into your behavior patterns and your thought patterns. And when you're able to recognize them and you recognize the ones that don't serve your best interest, you reframe them. You allow your knowledge of today to revisit those situations so that you can heal them, integrate them, and start moving in a way that serves your best interest. Sometimes if you had negative words spoken over your life while your hard drive was developing, it plays just like that. It plays like a tape recorder until you break that cycle. I guess this is what I've been doing, cleaning those files. I react differently to negative attacks. It is important how we speak to ourselves. It is absolutely important how you speak to yourself. It is, matter of fact, I can sit here and speak life into you all day long. Watch this. The vibration of my voice carries along with the intent of what I'm saying and the emotion that I put into what I'm saying. Watch this though. And this is the power of your voice. If someone had the same energy, fervent, strong about what they were saying, but was speaking negative to me, my voice, as it pertains to me and my energy, is always stronger than any other voice that is spoken to me. So here's what I mean. Let's say right now, Angel 518. Let's say right now, and I'm actually going to give you the example of how powerful your voice is. Let's say right now, I'm telling you, Angel, that everything that you desire for yourself is going to come to pass for you. That everything that you need to accomplish all of your dreams and your goal is already inside of you. And all you have to do is unlock that endless potential that's inside of you so that you can achieve all your goals. If I'm saying that to you and you turn around and say the opposite of what I just said to you, what you said about yourself trumps anything that I can say to you and anything that I can speak into you. Watch this. In the same way, if someone has spoken negativity over you, or if someone is speaking negativity over you, your voice and your vibration that comes out of your energy will always trump anything that they say to you. So in that regard, the rewiring of your subconscious mind is recognizing the voices and information and thoughts that don't belong to you and then replacing them. Just recognizing them is one thing. It's like, boom, perfect. Let's stay with the computer hard drive analogy. It's like doing doing an assessment on your computer hard drive, and you find that there are files that are corrupting your hard drive. Right? But you just leave them there. So identifying the negative thoughts are not enough. You then have to speak your own words so that you're replacing those files. Essentially removing them. So the first thing is when those thoughts come up, reject them. That's not my thought. That's not my portion. That's not my reality. That's not who I am. That is not for me. That thought doesn't belong to me. That part, and then speak what is your portion. Speak what does belong to you. Speak what it is that you do desire for yourself. And yes, if you have been severely spoken to in a way that demoralized you and broke down your sense of self-esteem, then that process is going to take a lot longer for you. But you have to be committed to doing that work as your primary life and healing coach. Antivirus software, right? You got to do that work though. All right, so let's go back to this first question. What do I admire about my past self that I wish I could continue to foster more in the present day. You know what it was and what it is? Actually, I discovered this about me in my healed spaces, but I discovered this about myself in my healed spaces, but I missed the fact that the younger me didn't get to experience being just joyful and funny. Like, I enjoy laughing and making people around me laugh. I love that. Like, I love that. I love that a lot now. Like, if we're hanging out, for the sake of the laughter, I might go into character a few times. What I miss, though, I didn't have that much fun when I was younger. I was angry. I was hurt. But here's how I process those two realities. And really, this is the power of when you understand why shadow work is important and how to reframe things about your life. Here's how I deal with those two realities. The younger me did not have the luxury to enjoy laughter. The younger me did not have the luxury to laugh and to be funny and to be foolish at times and to just be playful. The younger me didn't have that, right? And because the younger me didn't have that, there are parts of me that didn't get to develop even as I grew as a man, right? And I wasn't comfortable being funny. I wasn't comfortable being playful. But now that I'm able to recognize the root of what robbed me of that playful, joyful childhood that every young child should have, I give that to myself today. I give myself the okay. Okay, time out. Becky, first of all, I just want you to know you're late for class. You know we're here every day or every Sunday at 3:33 p.m. I just want to, you know how when you walk in the class late and the teacher just stops everything and goes, "Hi, Becky, I'm glad you could join us today. Happy to see you. Glad you're here." Nah, it's all good, sis. I'm just happy to see you. Glad you made it. But I lost my place real quick. Alora says, how do you get rid of the fear of moving forward? How do you stop the sabotage to oneself? So there's two aspects to that, Alora. So think about it like this. The reason we self-sabotage, right, is because in our subconscious mind, greatness is not who we are. Boom. Thank you, Becky. I appreciate that. So the reason we self-sabotage is because the things that we're headed to, that we usually ruin for ourselves, our subconscious mind does not believe we are deserving of, because we've been conditioned to think of ourselves as less than. So what we will do to avoid the disappointment of the thing possibly not working out and us having to relive the trauma of being disappointed in ourselves and other people being disappointed in us, if we ruin it before it can ruin itself and hurt us, then we will create a controlled explosion, because that to us, we can manage, because we can predict what we just created. If I ruin this before I can get to a place where I'm disappointed in myself because of the possible failure, or I'm disappointed by this thing not working out because this may be too good to be true. But if I ruin it right now, at least I can manage the fallout because I am in control of the explosion. So I'm going to create that. Not all of us, not universally, but most of the time when we're self-sabotaging, it's because of fear. And the fear is, one, this may not work out in the long run the way that I would like it to. And I'm afraid that if I invest more of myself when it falls apart, I'm going to be so hurt later that I'd rather manage the pain of losing it right now in my own self-managed explosion. Here's how you deal with that. First thing I want to tell you is you have to embrace that everything in your life, as long as you still have breath in your body, is working out for your good. Here's what that really looks like in your life. If I assess a thing in my life and it is not currently working out to my best interest, I'm still alive, so that thing has not finished its cycle of processing yet. If you understand that, put a 2 in the comments. As long as I am still breathing, anything that I desire is for me to have. And if in this moment I don't have it, that's because that thing has not completed its cycle or its process. At the end of its cycle and of its process, it is going to end up in my favor. That mindset alone does 2 things for you. One, it makes you unafraid of the potential outcome. Why? Because I know the outcome will always be in my best interest. Always. Even if it doesn't look like that in this moment. Even if it doesn't seem that way right now. See, if anxiety is the expectation of the negative in overdrive, then faith is the expectation of the positive outcome in overdrive. You gotta position yourself in this life to understand 2 things. The ebbs and flow of life is like this. Life is happening and you're simply projecting yourself into this reality in the way that you are coming out of your being. I'll say that again. Life is happening, right? Everything that you can imagine that can happen in life is happening all at the same time. The way that you are experiencing it is a result of the way that you are projecting yourself into this reality, into this world, into this life. So if you have a sense that everything is going to ultimately work out for your well-being, then you will look at a situation and go, oh, that's not done yet. So I never judge a thing as complete that's not in my favor. Even if I'm losing a thing, even in the point of losing a thing, everything that I lose is for my well-being. Everything that I gain is for my well-being. Every person that comes into my life, even if they came with a sword, with a knife, with a bomb, you're here to serve my best interest. All I have to consistently do is apply wisdom. That's it. But everything is in my best interest. Here's what that does to you. The way that you project yourself into the world is in such a way that you start aligning with the things that you see. You start aligning with the things that you think of yourself. So here's why faith without works is dead. Because if I simply said that everything is going to work out in my best interest, and then I just sat around and waited, there's no guarantee of what I just said to be true. Why? Because if I think a thing, which is everything is going to work out in my best interest,
Every time a thought comes up in my mind that's contrary to that, I just say that. Everything is going to work out in my best interest. Watch the second step, right? As I'm saying that now my words are capping my thoughts. My words are greater than my thoughts. As I say that, now my actions, when everything in front of me seems like it's not in my best interest, my actions is not to respond in fear. My actions is to stand firm and go, nah, this is going to work out for me. Nah, I'm good. This is going to work out for me. That is you aligning and putting your faith into action. Here's a great analogy that I use for people. You may say, I want rain. Infinite Spirit, rain on me. God, rain on me. I need rain, right? If you were told, or if you were given directions to go stand on that corner and it's going to rain, here's faith in action. And this is the type of faith that you got to have when it comes to how you deal with the fear of the future. You got to have the type of faith that says, as long as I got breath in my body, it's going to rain on this corner. I'm standing right here. And as I'm standing on this corner, I'm doing everything to prepare for rain. I'm getting buckets. I'm doing everything to prepare for rain. How that looks in your life, and this is how you start overcoming adversity and giving yourself the confidence of knowing that things are going to turn out in your best interest. It starts with your actions. What that means is I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do to align with what I desire for my life. I can't desire wealth, but then I'm being lazy. I can't desire wealth, but then I don't know how to speak out and network with people that are outside of my immediate circle. So it is a matter of your thoughts, your words, and your actions. And then behind all three of those is what you hold in your belief about what you think, what you say, and how you act. So if your foundational belief is everything is going to work out in my best interest, you don't allow thoughts to come out of your mind that don't align with that. So every thought that says, this ain't going to work out, that's not my thought. I don't own that thought. That doesn't belong to me. Everything is going to work out in my best interest. What starts to happen is you even see the world different. I'll give you an example. A person that lives their life by everything is going to work out in my best interest, when things start going wrong, watch this. Their mindset is everything is going to work out in my best interest. When everything around them starts to fall apart, they don't focus on the things falling apart. You know what they focus on? The opportunity. In the midst of things falling apart, because I know that everything's going to work out in my best interest, the falling apart is not what interests me the most. I'm not looking at how things are falling apart. That's how you become worrisome. That's how you become fearful. That's how you become anxious, because the only thing that can happen to you, the being that you are, right? And this is beautiful. The only thing that can happen to you, the only way that I can impact your life is to create such an illusion about the reality in front of you that you move and you take actions that move you out of what is rightfully yours. I'm going to say that again. The only thing that can happen in your life, and this is why you got to have that sense, that foundational understanding of who you are and what you are inside of this vessel. Because what you are inside of this vessel is a piece of eternity. You are the piece of the Creator that put us all here inside this vessel. That's why I'm not going to ask y'all that. We're going to skip that. But so everything that you know about you, right, is happening here. The only way that I can move you is by creating an illusion that is contrary to what you believe until you move. Devontae, what's up, brother? Until you move, right? And that's really how life works. Watch this. As long as you're still breathing, if you know things are going to work out in your best interest and everything in front of you looks like it's not working out, but you are confident that it's definitely going to work out in your best interest, that is just an illusion to you. That is just a temporary state of how things are to you. That is just momentary. Like it's like driving a car, right? When you're driving, you know I'm going to make it to my destination. I'm going to make it to my destination, right? That's in your mind. What happens when the rain starts falling and smacking your windshield? Put it like this. Have you ever focused on the rain when you were driving? What do you focus on? When you're driving and it starts pouring down heavy, what do you focus on? You focus on the road. And as long as you keep your eye on the road, what happens? You make it home. That's the same thing with having this mindset that everything is going to work out for my best interest, right? When everything looks like it's all going crazy in front of you, you don't even see the craziness. Like you're so focused on the outcome that you know for a fact is going to happen that as everything is falling apart, you're laser focused, waiting for the opportunity that you know exists in everything for you. And all of us have this example. There have been times where things happened in your life that was absolutely chaotic in the moment that it was happening. But once you waited to the end result, something amazing came out of it for your benefit. That's everything in your life, as long as you still got breath in your body. If I'm still breathing, this situation isn't over yet. That's just a foundational principle. All right. So again, the first reflection question, what do I admire about my past self that I wish I could continue to foster more in the present day? Essentially, what that question is asking you is, think back, what are some things that looking back at your life, you love that about you and you love that for you. But in order to survive and adjust yourself to an environment or to a traumatic incident, you gave up those parts of yourself or you suppressed those parts of yourself. And here's why this is important. That's good. Some of us, let me fix that. All of us, let me fix that. None of us are damaged goods. You are just not whole. And here's what I mean by that. The reason why that question is important, because if there are parts of you that were genuinely a part of who you were, and you suppress those parts of you in order to survive, in order to make it past something or an environment or whatever was happening in your life, when you show up today, you're not 100%. You're not whole. And because there are parts of you that you've suppressed, when you show up, you're still showing up in what looks like damaged or what looks like broken. But what it really is, they're just parts of you. It's like a puzzle. It's like a puzzle. The parts of you that were good, loving, the parts of you that were fun, the parts of you that was adventurous, the parts of you that are all the natural things that you are supposed to experience in this vessel. If you had to suppress those parts of yourself, or if you had to, I can't be that way because that's not acceptable. I can't be that way because that's not acceptable to the people that I'm around, or it's not acceptable to the environment. When you're showing up and we're assessing who you are, you're the puzzle with missing pieces. That's why it's important to do this work, to get on this healing journey. All right. Simple things have to be put away. Diva G. Double G said, I don't recognize that part of myself anymore. Do you not recognize that part of yourself, or have you disassociated with that part of yourself? Because think about it. And this is what I always say to people when people say things like, I'm afraid of going on this healing journey and using the shadow work journal because I don't know what's going to come up. And what I always say is, so you're comfortable with it being there, you're just not comfortable with it coming up. Like, you're fine with knowing that there are parts of you that you're not good with. You're fine living with that part of you. You're just not okay with having to face that part of you. I acknowledge and recognize, Livation says, I acknowledge and recognize parts of myself, but I focus on healing those parts. Absolutely. Diva G said, where'd you go? I disassociate with that part of myself because it could destroy me eternally. Okay. That will require a little more insight, Diva G. But I respect that. Ready to start the journey, but not sure I'm ready for the outcome. So, Candy Hayes. So that's kind of what I was just speaking about, right? Is, first of all, you got to know, like, you have everything you need. You have it with you and inside of you, right? And we'll talk about fear once we wrap up the next two questions, because we don't even realize how deeply we've been conditioned to embrace fear about our own lives. And we'll break that down and really talk about that in a minute. But we'll get into it. Let's knock out these questions. And whoever that last person was to just subscribe to the live, I greatly appreciate that. Thank you for joining the family. Thank you for joining the team. Welcome aboard. Talisha, I think that might have been you, because I see you have the emote next to your name. So that might have been you. All right. So that's what that first question is about, right? Really finding those parts of you that you had to oppress or suppress in order to fit in. But those are parts of you that were very much positive parts of yourself, but you had to hide it, or you had to kind of push it to the side just so you can survive or make it through, right? The second question is, where do I find myself? Where do I find myself hiding parts of my personality in order to fit the mold? That's a good one. Where do I find myself hiding parts of my personality in order to fit the mold? There's a very specific part of this question that I focused on in my notes, but I want to hear what you all have to say. I'm going to read some of your comments and engage your comments before I go to my notes. Many Nations said, I don't anymore. Just Be Kind, period, says, wow, that should be when. Could you repeat it? When and where, or when/where, do I find myself hiding parts of my personality in order to fit the mold? Lori says, all the time. And that could be that could be the reality. And we'll talk about some of that, Lori, when I'm confronted with releasing or changing. Oh, that's good one, Libations. I had to fight with dimming my shine. Ooh. And we do that in thinking that it's humility, right? But sometimes it's, who said that? So let me say this about dimming your light for other people. If it's not If it's not arrogance and your intention is well, never dim your light. And I'll tell you why. Because you shining could be what somebody needed to see to know that they can shine too. Sometimes, especially those of us that's been through a lot in this life and we're still here, people watch us from a distance in amazement. Some of them in disappointment that we're still here. Some of them in absolute awe that we're still here. And some of them watch us with guilt that we're still here. Right? One of the things that I've learned to do is to embrace I've learned to embrace the favor that my struggles now afford me. I've learned to embrace the favor that my struggles now afford me. I'll use this example and then I'll use the part that I wanted to focus on. I'll go to the part that I put in my note, but I'll give you all this example. And there's a great likelihood someone from my childhood could be watching this live. I say this with all love, and I mean this with love. But I remember growing up, the last time we went school shopping was in the 6th grade. Remember, I got 8 brothers. I grew up with 8 brothers and 3 sisters in a house with like 4 uncles living with us. It was what it was, right? I understood the struggle that my mother went through, just making sure we ate every day, which I can honestly say we pretty much ate every day. Thank you, ma'am. But I remember the last time we went school shopping was like in 6th grade. And I got like 2 pair of Payless shoes, 2 pairs of jeans, and like 2 shirts. So from 6th grade up until I actually started engaging in illegal activities to make money, like I was the kid that like would borrow shoes from friends, or friends would like give old pair of shoes and all of those types of things. And I remember growing up, like it was hard. But I look back now and I look back to people who I admired because they had so much. And I realized that out of those struggling times and out of those experiences and being able to heal, because sometimes we think because we came out of it that we're good. It's not always the case. Coming out of those struggling experiences and that struggling upbringing and being able to heal and being able to actually learn to love and live in love, there's a certain favor over my life because I've walked down those roads. And that favor allows me to have a sense of empathy, love, and an open heart for people in a way that I've been there. I know what that looks like. I know what that pain feels like. And now knowing how to walk despite a little bit of pain, knowing how to stand in the middle of a storm and say, I've seen storms like this before, and I know this too shall pass. Des, that's a great question. So let me explain something. Des' question is it favor from God? I won't get too deep into this because I'll start doing sessions on this specifically, right? Because a lot of what I did before we really started focusing on healing, I also did a lot of spiritual teachings on Sunday. That's what Sunday servings were. So Des Smith's question is it favor from God? And here's the answer that I'm going to give you. If God showed favor to specific people just because they asked for it, then that wouldn't be God. But let me show you how that favor works. Here's how divine favor actually works. Divine favor is not a process of individual selection, right? Because if God sat in wherever you imagine God to be, and if it was a matter of, I've listened to Des, I've listened to Khan, I've listened to Candy Hayes, I've listened to this person, and I've chosen to give this person favor just out of my choosing. That would be the same as some of our parents who pick the kids that they like just because they like those kids, right? But here's how divine favor actually works. And this is how you know that our Creator is pure and good in the way that I understand, to my knowledge and my understanding. The way divine favor works is you are favored when you are in alignment. And that means any child that finds his or herself in alignment shall reap the result of my favor. Not because I chose you selectively over anyone else, but because you chose to be in alignment. And while you are in alignment, you will reap the benefits of favor wherever you go, because you're now aligned with the universal energy of love and a universal energy that is coming from our Creator. That is how divine favor works. Let me give you a more tangible example of it. If I'm a father and I have 10 children, and if all of my children spent all of their days, which is what we're conditioned to think, if all of my children spent all of their days all praying, Dad, you should give me, can you give me favor because I've done this or I've done that, or I think this of you, and I praise you all the time, Dad. And all my kids did that all day. And through them doing that, I decided every day which one of my kids I would give my favor to just because. That's not an ideal parent. But let me tell you what would be a better process. And I mimic this understanding from how I understand divine favor to work. What would be a better process, and we would all agree that this is a great father or a great parent, is if you said, hey, any one of the 10 of you that align yourself with what is my lineage, what is the family lineage? Any one of you that aligns yourself with what is the family lineage and what the family's foundation is built on, you have my favor. That way, it's not me picking and choosing based on whatever crazy metrics my children think I'm going to apply to them, but it's simply them deciding to align with what I have established and put in place. And by them making the decision to align, they have my favor. That makes it fair. I'll never be accused of being unfair if all I did was establish, hey, I'm going to run this family trust on love. So any one of you as my children that aligns with love and that aligns on being willing to sacrifice so that your brother is better today and any other day, then you align with the family trust, you have my favor. So you can then go out into the world and use the family name and the family resources to do whatever it is that you want to do. That is how I understand divine favor to be. I don't believe that the infinite being that we refer to as God actually picks and chooses, oh, I'm going to put favor on Khan's life because he's been through a lot. Nah, that's not how it works. But Khan has favor because Khan understands that I am love and that I have put him here to be a vessel and an expression of that love and to be an aid to all his brothers and sisters. That is the business of my family, or that is my father's business. So as long as I'm aligned with love and being the vessel that carries it, and I align with being good to all that is around me, then I'm aligning with my creator. And through that process, I have favor. That's how I understand divine favor to work. Does that make sense? That makes sense. If that makes sense, give me a one in the comments if that makes sense. I stop hiding when I embrace being seen, visible, and heard. Right? So whenever we talk about healing, especially when we talk about the shadow work journal, there are a group of people that hear the word shadow and automatically presume, oh my God, this is demonic. You must not know God, and you must not have a relationship with God, and Jesus is the only way. And I'm like, what it automatically tells me is, and this is what I know for a fact, there is the gospel of the religion, and then there is the gospel of Yahshua. They're not the same thing. I don't get into religious debates with people. I don't argue on what you want to believe, but I tell you based on what I know. And if whomever has the time and want to have that conversation, you go get whatever book you want. And it is a fact. The gospel of the religion and the gospel of Yahshua, or Jesus as most people know him, they're different. They're not the same thing. So when people have this sense of condemnation and they live in a sense of fear about the creator, I know that they're operating from the gospel of the religion and not the true message and the true gospel, right? So for me, I understand what I just explained to you all. I know that that's not a common understanding for a lot of people. People have been conditioned to believe that God bestows favor on specific groups of people, specific generations of people, and that is built into the religious understanding of how most people have come to understand religion. So I get it. But the argument that I put forth in how I believe is that our creator is better than that. These human attributes that you attribute to God, I don't align with, because I believe God is better than what man is using him for or using God for. And I believe our creator is better than what these books have described our creator to be. So I'm always in the position of, yeah, I'm not arguing with your religion. I just think God is better than you're describing God to be. So what I find is people will argue for their religion against God being better than their religion says God is. That's the conversation most of the time. That I'm saying, I believe that there's a creator. I believe that I am a piece of the creator in this vessel. I believe that Yahshua did come from that creator. I believe that the gospel of Yahshua, or Jesus as is most commonly known, is that we're all one with God. Nothing can separate you from the love of God. And you are here to be an expression of that love. That's what I believe. I believe that there's information that is universal truth that you can find in the Bible. I believe there's information in the Bible that is not based on universal truth, that is based on the intent to drive the religion. Biblical scholars will tell you that. I'm not a biblical scholar. I don't claim to be anybody special. I don't claim to have any special gifts or anything like that, but I know what my purpose is. And my purpose is to pour life, love, and wisdom into whomever I have the opportunity to do so with. Because I've seen what life, love, and wisdom has done for me. And I've seen the impact of life, love, and wisdom on so many other people. Now, I know people who can quote you every scripture, who can tell you all the rituals and all the things that you're supposed to do so that you can make it into heaven, but they don't have love. I don't know what creator they're talking about. I don't know what creator they're serving. I know people that think that fear is what God's desire is for us. And that's why we're going to talk about fear in a minute. Because once you understand who you are and whose you are, you then understand there's no way that the piece of infinity that I am, the creator that puts me here, actually desires me to have fear in any way, because it doesn't align with everything. It doesn't align with the creator himself. So why would the creator expect me to have fear as a means of subduing myself to the will of the creator? That's called manipulation. Those are human traits that we attribute to God. So watch this. Those are human traits that we attribute to God so that we can use God to achieve our human desires, which is control of other humans, which is the root of human suffering. Because if you are a piece of infinity and I'm a piece of infinity and everybody else has a piece of the infinite being that put us here, how can I then be in a position to have dominion over you? It doesn't work. Our desire to have dominion over each other is the root of human suffering. But let's get back to this, to the journal, and not get too far sidetracked. But so I'm also going to find out which day, but we're going to incorporate a lot of these spiritual conversations along this healing journey, because one of the things that I have no problem telling people, I'll tell you two things. And this is something that hit me very strongly recently. I just told you all basically what my foundational belief is and what that belief is based on. But here's what I know now. I don't need you to agree with what I believe in for me to love you. I don't need you to be aligned with what I believe in for me to pour life and love onto you. In fact, it is the foundation of my understanding of the gospel of Yeshua that gives me that understanding to know that love doesn't require the condition of your agreement with me. That's the religion. That's the religion that says, if you don't agree with me, we're going to burn you on the stake. That's the religion that says, if your people don't agree with me, we're going to cancel out your entire history. We're going to cancel out your entire generation. We're going to force feed you this truth at the barrel of a gun or at the edge of a sword. That is not the gospel. So what I've come to understand, and this is what confuses a lot of religious people, is when you're saying to people, hey, listen, I can teach you how to heal from your trauma. But you're not telling them about Jesus. If God is love, and the gospel is a gospel of love, and I am coming to you in love, and I'm also not afraid to tell you what my foundational belief is that is rooted in that love, but I don't need you and I to disagree about what I believe in and letting that to become a barrier between us. No. That's not the gospel. If I come with divisiveness first, there's nothing I can give you. If I come and say, hey, I believe like this, and if you don't believe how I believe, then me and you can't have a conversation, I just took away the opportunity for you to even hear what I have to say to you. So I don't need people to believe like I believe for me to love on you. I don't need you to believe like I believe for me to give you wisdom that will work for you. Because watch how we tie this beautiful bow. Here's what an awesome creator would do. An awesome creator would establish a system that is accessible to all that creator creates. And all that is required is you to align yourself. This idea that your life's purpose is to be this walking vessel of praise and worship is a part of the rituals that came out of the religion. Let me tell you how I am in a walking, breathing state of glorifying the Creator to put me here. By loving on anybody that I can find. By loving on anybody that would give me an opportunity to speak love and life into you. By giving what I know we call our Creator to be, love. If that is the case, the most impactful way that I can witness about the love of Yahshua to you is by giving you that love. Not trying to force feed you a religion, not trying to force feed you and beat you upside the head and feed you with fear and telling you like, if you don't believe like how I believe, you're going to hell, so now I'm gone. That, and we'll get to it. Fear does not change people. Let's finish this journal and then we can get to our conversation about fear. All right. So where do I find myself hiding parts of my personality in order to fit the mold? Here's the note that I made about that question. And many of us can kind of work our way through that because we know where we do this. Many of us, a lot of time, is at work, right? But there's a more important part that I wanted to touch on about that. Here's what happens for those of us that have experienced trauma. Ooh. We learn how to show up as the person that will be accepted and received. We learn who we need to be to avoid what we don't want to experience. By learning this, we learn how to survive the people and the things that may have been causing us this conflict in our childhood, in our upbringing, or in our relationships. We learn it as a survival skill, right? We know how to show up as who we need to be accepted. We know how to show up as who we need to be so that we're not ridiculed. We know how to show up as who we need to be sometimes so we're not beaten, so we're not downtrodden, so we're not kicked, so we're not talked to crazy. But we take this behavior into our relationships in our adult years, where we learn how to show up as who we think people will like the most. When you haven't embraced all of who you are, there are parts of you that you're ashamed of. There are parts of you that you don't think people are going to like so much because you may not like those parts of yourself so much. When you're still in those spaces and you're entering into a relationship with someone, your habit is to show up as who you think the best version of yourself is. Here's the problem with that. Who you think the best version of yourself to be is not the best version of yourself. That's your illusion that you created. And let me tell you why. The best version of you is all of you. The part of you that you know how to just put up front, because that's the part that's always been accepted. That's the part that people like the most. That is a fraction of who you are. That is a portion of who you are. And if you are only showing up as a portion of who you are, this is why we struggle in finding love most of the times. I'll tell you why. Because we show up as the version of ourselves that is most acceptable, right? Let's play this out real quick. Let me see. Aaron and I are dating, right? We both showed up as the versions of ourselves that we thought was most acceptable, that would be embraced, right? So I fell for that version of Aaron. I really like Aaron, but I really like the version of her that she showed up as, right? So I start loving that part of her. That's who she gave me. That's who she showed up as. Aaron will never be fully satisfied in this relationship, and I'm going to tell you why. Because the parts of Aaron that she did not bring to the table, those parts of her will always feel void. Those parts of her will always feel empty. And those parts of her will always be the parts that are trying to sabotage whatever this imposter that she's bringing is enjoying with me. Because what I'm doing is I'm only loving this small piece of her, but she's a whole being. She's a whole person. And all these other parts of her will never feel fulfilled. They'll never actually get touched with my love because she decided that this part of her was not good enough for her to bring to the table. Because she's conditioned herself to not see her whole self as valuable enough and that she will be loved and accepted wholly as who she is. The best parts of yourself is the whole you. When you show up as the part of yourself that you think is just the likable part, you're doing yourself a disservice. Because if I fall in love and if I'm willing to love just that part of you, you think the rest of who you are is just void and empty? And that's just going to work out? No. So most of the time, when we show up as the imposter in our relationship or we show up with our best front, right? We end up unhappy. Because the parts of you that you've hidden are the parts that actually need love the most. Watch this, watch this, watch this, watch this. The person that's willing to love the part of you that you're most ashamed of is your person. If you don't show up as that person, how can your person ever know the parts of you that they've been designed or directed or have been taught to love? If all you bring to the table is the best part of you, but the part of you that need love, the part of you that was neglected, the parts of you that needs to be nurtured, if you always hide or suppress that part of you and you haven't done your shadow work or you don't believe that shadow work is worth it, right? If you don't show up as that part of you, it doesn't matter how much I love the representative, that part of you is still going to be empty and you're still going to feel like the person that you've always felt like. The part of you that you don't love, I can't love. And that part of you will always feel unloved. And that's why it's important to do your shadow work. That's why it's important to recognize those parts of yourself and then integrate those parts of yourself. Find peace with those parts of yourself. Because when you find someone that is genuinely going to love all the parts of you that you haven't fully embraced, that's your person. That's the person to do life with. But if you never show up as all of that, who are you looking for? Who are you going to find? You're going to keep finding these people that just don't seem to love you right. They can't love you right because you're not showing up. And yes, it's going to be this cycle of failed relationships. And it's not because you suck at relationships. It's not because something's wrong with you. It's because you haven't wholly embraced who you are so that you're bringing who you are to the table. It's not necessarily that the dating pool is trash. It's that you're showing up as half a person. So they're only learning to love or like half a person. And most of the time, if we're showing up and we're not in our whole self, the part of us that we're bringing to the table is usually this false image that even we can't maintain over a long period of time. It's usually the part of us that was able to survive. It's usually the part of us that only knows how to survive and not how to thrive. Just be kind, period. You hit it on the head. My issue was I never knew who I was. So people that hear about shadow work and hear the word shadow and go, oh my God, it's something else. These are some of the same people who have the same issues. Don't have a clue who you really are, right? And if you do, it's been developed in a way to just survive. When you embrace you and you can look at the parts of you and go, yeah, that's me. That's me. That's who I am, right? What happens is when you bring all of you forth and you're operating with wisdom, many of us don't realize that the parts of you that you are most ashamed of, that you don't think anybody is going to embrace, the person that's meant for you or the person that you're going to find yourself equally at, I call it a merger, right? That person will love all of you. The problem is you got to love all of you first. I can never love the parts of you that you never showed me. And if those are the most injured parts of you, if those are the most broken parts of you, those are the exact parts that you need to know that your partner is willing to love. So when I read that question, where do I find myself hiding parts of my personality in order to fit the mold? I immediately thought of how so many times we go into potential relationships hiding parts of ourselves to fit what we think somebody likes. And then wonder why things didn't work out. You weren't even in the relationship. Your best version of you was. And you, the real you, still felt unfulfilled because you weren't in the relationship. All right, let's get to the third question. Then we're going to talk about fear a little bit. What do I think will happen if I were to be... What do I think will happen if I were to be my full self during these instances? Let me ask you all that. If you showed up as your full self, unafraid in your personal relationships, what do you think would happen? Just because says, I'm 48 years old and I'm finally beginning to love me. Now I'm finding the courage to have a voice. That's beautiful. Capstud 80, I would be happy and thriving far more. Danielle says rejected. I'd lose some people. Fear is out the door, rejected and judged. I would be able to feel free. Congratulations, conflicted. The person might leave. People would disappear. Some would love me, some would want to get away. Lose a lot of people. Living life to its fullest. There will be no anxious feeling. Watch this, y'all. Watch this. This is going to blow your mind. This is going to, I love those answers, right? Imagine this. Imagine you have people in your life only because they don't really know you. Imagine you have people in your life only because they don't really know you, which means if the fear is if I show up as who I am, I'm going to lose you. What I'm saying is I'd rather compromise my being for your presence. There's nobody that important. We all do in certain environments, we don't need people to fully know us, but I'm talking about in your personal life. If your fear is that you would lose people if you showed up as who you really were, here's what I'm going to tell you today. Please allow those people to leave your life. Please allow those people the opportunity to look at you and go, yeah, I don't like people like you. Please, because here's what's happening. You are compromising the fullness of your existence for someone else's presence. And that in and of itself is selling yourself short. You deserve people in your life that see you for who you are and embrace every bit of your existence. You deserve people in your life that understand who you are, understand your flaws, and love you nonetheless. You deserve people in your life that you can show up who you are 100% and they don't blink an eye. You deserve people in your life that know you, love you, understand you, and embrace you. Here's the thing though. If you think about most of the answers that we just got, this is the self-sabotaging that fear does. Out of fear of losing someone, you're creating a situation where they are not fully engaged because they're not honestly engaged with the person that they're actually dealing with. They're dealing with the representative. Out of fear, you're doing them a disservice by not showing them who you really are. So now they're dealing with somebody they don't even know. 2, out of fear, you're compromising the fullness of your existence because of fear. That's what fear does. Fear does not allow you to think something through fully to understand the best interest on how this can work out. The fear paralyzes your ability to see all the angles. I'm going to be very honest with you all. The only place that I would say, yeah, show up and do what you got to do, but I hope it's only temporary, where you go make your money. And I say I hope it's only temporary because I speak that there are gifts inside of you that will put you in a position where you can live your life making a living, showing up as who you are without having to compromise that. We all deserve that. But if your fear is that you're going to lose people, if you show up as who you are, please let those people leave. Please stop holding people Ooh, that might hurt a little bit. This might hurt a little bit. This one might hurt a little bit, just a little bit. Please stop holding people captive with the lie that you're presenting to them about who you are. Please stop keeping yourself in this cage so someone else is comfortable with living with your lie about who you are. Please allow yourself the freedom to be whole and stop keeping yourself in a cage so someone else is comfortable with this lie that you're presenting to them. Please stop that. You deserve better than that. They deserve better than that. And here's one that I'll give you. The moment you stop lying about who you are, you'll really start attracting the people that will embrace fully who you are. You're depriving yourself right now. Your lie is keeping the people that need to be in your life out of your life. This is that sabotaging thing that we do without realizing it, and that's what fear really does. Your lie is actually hindering you from having the joy, peace, and profitable, prosperous relationships that you deserve. That's what your lie is doing. It's not the world not embracing you. It's not the world is not going to accept you. Everybody is not going to accept you. But the people that are meant for you, they can't find you because you got the real you hidden in your house somewhere that you only bring out when you come back home. So the people that are like, here's one thing that I realized about life. This is beautiful. Great analogy. You know how you never see a car until you buy that car? Anybody know this phenomenon that we've all experienced? You don't see this car until you buy that car. Anybody? Give me a 1 in the comments if you know about this phenomenon. Give me a 1 in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. You don't see a specific car until you buy that car, right? We all know that phenomenon, right? Well, guess what? The same thing happens with people. You don't know that there's a whole community of people that have gone through what you've gone through, that have experienced what you've experienced, that will love every bit of who you are until you show up that way. You don't see them because you're not showing up like that. They don't see you because they don't. Ooh, there it is. Watch this. Because we're all energy beings, right? Everything that we do is really energy, right? And our energy either repels or attracts to us, right? The people that will genuinely love you wholly, their energy is not matching yours because you're showing up with this fraudulent bag of energy. So when they see you, when they connect with you, this facade that you're putting on, they go, oh, you're not one of us. And they keep moving. It's the same thing with the car. Until you start showing up as who you are, you're not going to meet the people that will love you for who you are. It's up to you. Until you start showing up as who you are, you're not going to meet people that are going to genuinely love you for who you are. It doesn't work. You can't be this fake person and expect real love. So the note that I made for what do you think will happen if I were to be my full self during these instances? My life would change for the better. Not only will I be expressing my comfort with knowing that, because watch this, y'all. Watch this. Outside of your job, in your professional settings, right? When you show up as not your full self, you know what it's giving? You don't love you yet. Watch this. When you show up as not your full self, it's no coincidence that you seem to keep attracting people who don't genuinely love you. When you're walking through this life as not your full self, it's no coincidence that you're attracting to yourself people that only want to manipulate and use you, because guess what? As you are showing up as a manipulator, you're attracting that energy to you. Here's what we have to realize. Everybody is not going to embrace you. That's not the goal in life. The goal in life is not that everybody embraces me and loves me. The goal in life is I live in love. First, I love this, all that I am. Secondly, I give love freely, openly. Third, my principles that govern my life are rooted in love. You know how the saying goes, and this is where we start to draw the line about religion and what we're doing over here. The saying goes, or it says in the book, walk in the spirit and you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh, right? That gets interpreted into all these convoluted, deep all that, right? Here's how I simply teach this to you. If love is the guiding factor in your life, and I mean a selfless love, not just a love that serves you, but a love that serves others. If that is the guiding principle in your life, automatically by default, there's certain things that just will not manifest themselves in your life. So by understanding the foundational principle of why we know that love is what we say, God is love. So if my guiding principles are the principles based and rooted in love, then I'm operating in oneness with the Creator, with God. And in that alignment is how I have favor. That's favor. Not some, I prayed hard enough so God gave. No, it doesn't work like that. That is how man has painted this picture so that man can get the outcome that man wants. That God sits in heaven, wherever this imagination is that God is, and God listens to all the prayers of the billions of people on earth, and God selectively says, I'm going to answer yours. That's not how it works. How it works is, hey, guess what? Everybody, all of you all have inside of you the same breath of life that is your Creator. Now, because you're all in this vessel, here's what aligns with everything that governs everything. And here's what aligns with your Creator, right? Now, all you have to do is being in alignment. By being in alignment, not only energetically, not only psychologically, not only spiritually, but physically, by being in alignment, all things, when we say all things work together for your favor and for your good, that comes out of that favor of knowing that I'm in alignment. Meaning, if I'm always living my life in love, bro, it doesn't matter what it looks like in front of me. Nothing is going to go wrong in my life. And even when things do go wrong, that's just a temporary position of this thing. It has not completed yet. It is not over yet. In fact, I'm not even going to stress it in this moment. Now watch this. Here's how faith in stillness can be as powerful as faith in your actions. Sometimes all you got to do to really move energy around you is not stress at all. Because look at it like this. If I know for a fact that I can manifest in this reality everything that I hold in laser focus with the emotions that generate the power inside of this vessel, right? If I know that, then let's say we know that now, right? How do you then get people to live in a world where they're powerless and what you tell them to be afraid of, they always see? You do that with fear, right? If anyone has questions about the reflection questions, if you have your journal and you have questions about the reflection questions, I'm going to give about 5 minutes where I'm going to answer some of those questions, and then I'm going to talk about fear. So if you have questions about the reflection questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and I'll address and answer some of those. And then we'll go on and talk about fear, and then we'll try to wrap it up and get out of here. Any questions about the reflection questions from the fill in the blank activity part 6? If you don't know, this video and all the other ones are uploaded to our YouTube page. Do go over there and subscribe to the YouTube page. Is youtube.com/@girl_dad. That is where you're going to find my long form content. That is where you're going to find additional videos, additional resources. That is where we're going to be launching the I Am Healing podcast, where we talk into depth about healing in general, but I'll be bringing on different people to tell their story, tell their testimonies, and different healing and light workers to share with us the different things that they're doing to help people heal and the different things that they've done to heal. So if you have not done so, how much does that cost? How much does what cost? The podcast? It's going to be free. It's going to be free. But yeah, so just go to YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube page. It's youtube.com/girl_dad. All right. So if there aren't any questions about the reflection questions, I want to just talk about fear. No. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe to the YouTube. You just go over to the page, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. So every time that we post a new video, you'll be notified and you can go check it out. But it doesn't cost you anything to subscribe to the YouTube page. It is absolutely free. And that is where a lot of the, again, long-term content is going to be. But also one of the things that we're going to start doing on here, for those of you that have taken the steps to subscribe here, so there are going to be times when I'm on here and we're actually having a very in-depth talk where we're kind of just do the subscribers just as a means of saying thank you to you all for your continued support. But as far as YouTube, just go over there and subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you can get notifications whenever. Hey, you're welcome, Loli. Very welcome. All right. So thank you for that. Whoever just sent something. Let's talk about fear. And I want to talk about fear from the perspective of why fear does not align with love. I'll put it that way. Why fear does not align with love. And then I'll make the connection as in, if we believe that God is love, then fear cannot align with God. To that point, here's what fear does. By design, fear is a part of your body's information system. When I talk about your emotions and when I talk about things that are quote unquote of this flesh, that's this vessel, that's a part of your body's information system, right? What I mean by that is fear is not supposed to You are not designed to be in a constant state of fear. Fear is an alarm system. It goes off, you assess information, and then you act. And then the fear goes away. Right? It's a warning. It's a part of your body's warning information system. You are not designed to live in a constant, perpetual state of fear. Now, we're in a world where the overwhelming theme of life, as we call like civilized nations, it's all built and based on fear. All of it is built and based on fear. Why is that? Because when you are in a state of fear, you are most easily controlled. We'll connect the dots here in a second. When you are in a state of fear, you are easily controlled. Because fear by design, as a part of your warning system, when the alarm goes off, your other systems becomes numb. Because by design, fear is designed to protect the vessel. Right? So when you're in a state of fear, your other systems shut down. let's hold right there for a second. What are your other systems that I'm talking about? And why would it matter if those systems are working? So, a part of your other information systems that actually turn your body into the energy generating vessel that it is are your other emotions. Let me give you an example. Think of superhuman strength. Outside of any external factors being introduced into the body, whenever we've seen or we've heard or we've seen the display of superhuman strength, it's come when somebody was in a heightened emotional state. What that helps us understand is our bodies are able to generate energy to not only interact with everything around us, but the energy that our body is able to generate causes this vessel to do certain things, i.e., the strength that you can generate out of love, hate, not so much. But for example, mother's child is under a car or something, right? And you've heard the stories of her being able, anger is definitely one of them. So what I'm saying is there are other, when you're not in a state of fear, by design, your body and the way that it's connected to your spirit that's inside this vessel is designed to do certain things, i.e., manifestation is something that everybody does. Doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you understand manifestation. Just by design, that vessel is going to manifest. This is how it works, though. Whatever you are laser focused on and the emotion that you hold with laser focus, you're able to manifest that in this physical reality. I'll give you a little two examples that I commonly use. In the same way that you can be so anxious about a thing and you're laser focused on the thing that you're anxious about and you hold that emotion of anxiety so much so that you manifest and produce the very thing that you're anxious about, it's the same way that faith works. If anxiety is the expectation of the negative in overdrive, and faith is the expectation of the positive outcome in overdrive, then if you're able to hold that emotion of faith with laser focus on a thing, if you're able to hold that emotion of faith with laser focus on something that you desire, you're able to manifest it here in the reality. That power to manifest is what makes you like your creator. That power to manifest is how the breath of life that you are, the spirit being that you are in this vessel, it's how it expresses itself to be a part of infinity. I'm driving. We'll get there. So here's what fear does. Fear robs you of your ability to operate in that power. In a state of fear, you have, when you go into that hyper state of fear, not only does all your other systems shut down, but you go into a survival mode. Here's the danger of that. In survival mode, you are willing to do things and adhere to things that you normally cognitively, consciously would not adhere to or submit to. Knowing this, the question becomes, why is everything that is given to us with a palette of fear? For instance, it's no coincidence that if God is love and Yahshua, Jesus, the Son of God, was walked this earth as a means of setting people free and as a means of connecting man back to our Creator, or human beings back to our Creator. If that was the intent, how is it then that the entire gospel has now been based and foundationed on a fear of what's going to happen when you leave this reality? If the whole purpose was to connect you back to your Creator, how then is the entire gospel based on a fear of what happens after you leave here? All right, I'll tell you why. Because if you if you understood the gospel of Jesus, the gospel of Yahshua is a gospel of love and power, then you would not need to be dependent on the systems that want to benefit off of your fear. If each of us understood that in you lies the power of infinity, that in you lies the power that you were created to have. Matter of fact, let me say it in a way that more people can understand it. If you understood that everything Jesus did, you can do and so much more. If you knew who you were and whose you were, you would be as much of a threat to those that desire to control everyone as he was. Are you following me? If you knew that everything that Jesus did, you could do and more, then you would be the same type of threat to those that have a desire to control everything as he was. So rather than give you the gospel by truth, the way that Jesus, Yahshua, stated it, we're going to give it to you from a foundation of fear. Because if you can embrace this gospel from fear, then you are powerless and you're not moving in the power of who you are and whose you are. But if I told you this gospel from love and gave you an understanding that nothing can separate you from what you are entitled to, nothing can separate you from your inheritance from your Creator. But you're simply here to be a vessel that carries love and that distributes love. The entire structure, look at it this way. There's enough natural resources in this ecosystem to supply and provide for human beings for as long as we're here. But yet, people are starving and dying of starvation. That in and of itself lets us know that there is a concerted effort to not only control the resources of the world, but to control the people in the world. So if we give you this gospel from a place of fear, the very thing that you were supposed to be getting free from, I'm going to use that to bind you. I'll simplify this a little bit and take it off the spiritual scope and bring it down to your day-to-day. When you start walking in the boldness, first of all, of knowing that in this vessel, I am a piece of infinity. That this is just a vessel. I'm driving this vessel. And the being that I am, the spirit being that I am, comes from I am that I am. And I'm a part of that. When you understand that, you then start operating in the understanding of, in the way that I'm created, I can manifest in this reality what I hold true to myself. And when I'm aligned with the energy that governs all of this, I'm in favor. Then you start to walk and live your life in such a way that you are power in motion. See, the way that you're told, first of all, this idea that by your birth, you were a problem to God. By your birth alone, you were separated from God. It's the first part of instilling fear and what's the word? I wanted to say, and misidentifying you. See, here's the analogy that I gave somebody the other day. If we all are children of a king, right? All of us, we're all children of a king. The only way someone can first deprive us of our birthright is by convincing us that either A, we are at odds with our father, or B, that you don't belong to the house of the king. The only way someone can rob you of your birthright if you are a child of a king is by either A, convincing you that you are at odds with the king, therefore you are not entitled to your inheritance, or convincing you that you are not a part of the king's lineage. What we're doing on this healing journey is essentially telling people who you are and whose you are. What we're doing on this healing journey is essentially telling you that we've been taught, there it is. We've been taught to believe that life is lived on the outside of you. We've been taught to believe that life is lived on the outside of you. So everything that we look for, we look outside. We look for God outside. We look for peace outside. We look for happiness outside. We look for healing outside. We've been conditioned to believe that everything that you need is outside of the kingdom. So if you're an heir to everything that is in this kingdom, and I convince you that everything that you need is outside the kingdom, I've now tricked you to go looking somewhere else for something that is not out there. Your inheritance is right here in the kingdom. But if I convince you that everything that you need and everything that you're looking for is out there, and I send you on a life mission to go out there and find it, you will live your entire life not only in misery, but in search of something that you will never find because it never existed out there. Where did he say the kingdom of heaven was? Who knows what the kingdom of heaven is? Put it in the comments. Where's the kingdom of heaven? Come on. Come on, Goddess K. Come on, Being Almond. Come on. It said that. It says that. The kingdom of heaven is within you. It says that. I'm not making that up. That's not something that I just pulled out of the air. So what does that teach you? If you've spent your entire life looking for something that is right inside of you, but you've been convinced that it is everywhere else, you will always be lost, confused, and miserable. This is the point. This is why we're conditioned the way that we are. This is why from the moment that we get here, we start being told everything other than who you are and whose you are. Because if you realize that everything that you need and everything that you were designed to be is right there inside of you, now you can't be controlled. Remember I said, if this is a vessel, the reason why we are being convinced that we are just the vessel is so that somebody else can use you as a company vehicle without paying you. That is why you're not taught that you are not the vessel. You are the being that is inside the vessel. And inside the vessel is where everything that the vessel needs lies. Yes, you have the power. And it's not it's not even that. It's humbly understanding that we've been so conditioned to misunderstand our Creator that by design, you can't truly embrace the Creator the way you're supposed to because you've been intentionally confused about it. Look at it like this. How beautiful is it that we were created and placed in these vessels, and everything that each of us need is already built in. Hence the reason why some of us pray different. Some of us pray by asking for everything, with the mindset thinking that some reason I'm so special that even though I'm just as flawed as all of you, but I'm going to condition myself to believe that I'm so special that I can actually do this and things happen for me, which it will sometimes, but it's not because God is selectively choosing to answer prayers. It's because each and every one of you have inside of you the ability to focus. Not even just focus. I'll say it like this. Each and every one of you have inside of you the ability to manifest into this reality what you desire. That is what an amazing, fair Father does. He gives it to everybody, but simply says, hey, all you have to do is be in alignment. But it is here for you, each and every one of you. That's why some of us don't pray by asking for things. We speak it as though it is, because we understand that an amazing Creator wouldn't, there it is right there. When you make a perfect product, you don't put an 800 number in the packaging. Call us for what? When you make a perfect product, you don't put an 800 number in the packaging for tech support. Call us for what? You don't need to call us for nothing. Everything that you need is right there in the product. The problem is you've been conditioned to see the product as non-functioning. That's why you keep doing this and, I'm going to keep, because you think the product is broken, because you were told from the moment you were born, you were at odds with the manufacturer. So they condition you to believe that you're a broken product. So therefore, what do? When you believe you're a broken product, you keep calling up the manufacturer. God help me. God help me. But when you know that you're not broken and you understand that everything that you need is right there in the product. You just have to access it. You just have to access it with a knowledge and a confidence of knowing that you are a part of the infinity that you come from, and everything that you need is right there in the vessel, not because you are God, but because you are a part of the God that you came from. Now, if you were taught that, you wouldn't have to be dependent on all the things that the world wants to sell you. You wouldn't have to be dependent on all the things that everybody else wants to get you caught up in. You would actually know that you are walking, breathing power. I'll give you all a great example. So two things. We know that my belief, I know that the Bible holds universal truths that predates the Bible. So they're universal truths because they're universal truths that are rooted in our Creator. There are also other places where these universal truths are true, right? We know that the Bible tells stories about the Creator from people that had different experiences with the Creator from different cultures and different times. So we reference and have an understanding of the Bible from that regard. Here's a story that I've always found very interesting and beautiful in the way that it gives the message that we miss all the time. So there's the story of the woman with the issue of blood, right? The thing that I love most about that story is that it says she made it up in her mind that if I can touch the hem of his garment, I will be whole, right? She made it up in her mind and knew it for a fact, had it set in her mind, fact, if I do it, it's going to happen. And it says that when she did, it says that Yahshua felt power leave him, right? Of course, understanding the purpose of these stories, you understand the nuance of the information there and the message there and not get stuck on just the story itself. But here's what I always found super powerful about that is that it never said that he had a consciousness of what she desired. It just said that she had her mindset. And based on her having her mindset, her actions complementing what she thought, spoke, and then did, manifested inside of her what she desired. I'll give it to you another way, and then I'm going to wrap this up. So most medication only causes your body to do what it's capable of. Most medication, you take it and it triggers your body to do a thing that your body is already capable of doing. The placebo effect. This is the idea, and countless studies, go find them, go research it yourself. This is the idea that people were told a certain thing, that they were taking this medication, it was going to heal them because they believed it. They gave them water or salt pills and they actually got whole. Not real medication, but because they believed it, they were made whole. These are not mysteries. This is not dark arts. This is fact of how we were created. This is fact that science supports. This is fact that universal truth throughout the history of mankind supports. So what we're teaching, or what I'm teaching on this healing journey, is first, the way that I know love is what I know the love of our Creator to be, which is, it's not a condition. Because if the condition is that you had to believe like I believe, then the Creator would have never given to the world his, as it is said, his only begotten Son, because the world didn't believe. So the condition There's no condition of love for me to love on people. You don't have to believe like I believe for me to love on you. In fact, the evidence or the testimony of what I believe, there it is. The testimony of what I believe is not what I can tell you about what I believe, but it's how I can love on you because of the testimony of what I believe is not what I can tell you about what I believe, it's how I can love on you because of what I believe. I want to love on people so good and be such a vessel of love that people ask me, hey man, how do you do that? There's something about you. There's an energy about you. You never seem to have anger, or you never seem to hate. You never seem to be in, every time I see you, it's like what is that? There's something on you. There's a light about you. That's the goal. That's the goal. The testimony of what I believe is not me saying to you what I believe, but is loving you unconditionally because of what I believe. That is the testimony of really understanding the gospel of Yahshua. What did he say? You're going to tell who's with me by how they love their brother. So on this healing journey, the first thing is, for me personally, my life is rooted in my foundational spiritual belief that there is one God and one creator, and that Yahshua comes from that creator. And that the gospel of Yahshua is that we're all one with that creator, just like he was one with that creator. And that nothing can separate us from where we come from. Nothing can separate you for what you are. Can't nobody trick bag you and tell you you're not of the house of the king. The only thing they can do is convince you that you're not, and then you give up your inheritance. And then you give up the power and the authority that you have because you've been convinced that you're not. That's like somebody telling you that's like somebody telling you that, yeah, you come from your parents, but you're not a part of them. No, I come from them. I share this with them. Right? No, that's like somebody telling you, and we see this all the time. That's like somebody telling you because of X, Y, and Z, you and your parents are not connected. We may not be in the same physical place, but there's no way that I'm not going to be a part of who or a piece of who they are. Because it took them two together to make what I am. I am always going to be a piece of what they are. That's why nothing can separate you from God. You're a piece of what you come from. And then lastly, that you're here to be an expression and a distributor of the love that we say God is. That's my foundational belief. I don't need you to believe that for me to love on you. I'm not going to beat you upside your head with that as I'm not going to force you to have to believe like I believe in order for me to love on you. In fact, The testimony of what I believe is not me telling you what you should believe. The testimony of what I believe is how I love you despite what you believe. And it is through the way that I love you and the way that my love resonates with you that will cause you to ask me, I want some of what you got. What is that? So on this healing journey, that's my foundation, right? But I also understand from that foundation what my purpose is. And my purpose is to facilitate space to help others get to this place. So I've been on the other side. I've been hurting. I've been without. I've been through all of that. But through having that foundation that I stand on, and through understanding that as long as I'm a distributor of love, I'm always going to have it, I walk in power. People can't fearmonger me about nothing. You can't fearmonger me about nothing. I walk in power. Divinely dangerous. Because I understand who I am and whose I am. I understand that the power of everything that we've been conditioned to look for in this world is right here. And honestly, once I am whole in here and I understand what is inside of this vessel, I only project that to the reality that this physical eyes can see. You can't find peace out in the world until you have it inside of you. You can't find power out in the world until you have it inside of you. And when it comes to love, I'll leave you all with this. Most people think that the way to experience love is to find someone to love on you that makes you a consumer. Think of it like this. As a consumer, you can only get something if the distributor has it in supply. As a consumer of love, you can only get love when someone who is distributing it is around you to give it to you. I'm a distributor of love. The manufacturer gives the distributor an endless supply. Because if I'm a damn good distributor of love, the manufacturer goes, that's my top love salesman right there. Send him an endless supply. He's going to keep this thing going, right? If you're just a consumer, you got to wait for somebody like me or a distributor to come around in order for you to get it. But if you're a distributor of it and you're a damn good distributor of it, you know what the manufacturer says? Oh, keep them flooded. That's the secret to love. Most people are sitting around waiting for love in the regards of being just a consumer. So when you run out, guess what? You don't have any more. You're looking for your next hit. As a distributor, I don't ever run out. There are moments where my supply chain might be clogged up because of something that I'm doing in the warehouse, or because of people that I may have around me, or because of situations that may be happening. And every time I notice that my supply chain is running low, I don't go, oh my God, I need to figure out what's going on. No. I go straight to the manufacturer. Hey man, I didn't get my supply this week. Oh, that's because I was harboring a little bit of resentment towards somebody. That's why I'm not getting that constant flow of love in me right now. Oh, I got it. Thanks. Boom. Let's clog this back up. Let's get this going. That's how love works. You can be a consumer or you can be a distributor. The manufacturer loves everybody, right? But when you're a distributor of love, you don't run low, you don't run empty, you don't run dry. You out here. If you just set your life on loving people, just set yourself on that. My life, loving people. You do me wrong, I'm operating wisdom. I'm going to operate in wisdom. I'm not going to keep giving you an opportunity to do me wrong, but guess what? I'm not mad at you. You and I don't have a beef. We don't have a problem. I'm not angry with you. I love you. I've just got to love you from over there. But I'm always going to always have love for you. So those that are actual distributors of love and understand that that is what this vessel is for, that is how they're going to live their expression in this plane, never run out. We don't sit around like, oh man, I need someone to love me today. Now let me find somebody to love on. Let me find somebody to love on. Who can I call and love on right now? Who can I call that I know needs to hear it? Yo, I love you today. I love you today. I don't know where you live. I'm not going to advise this for everybody. But if you can, spend a day. Just spend one day. Try it. Give it a try. Spend a day. Every opportunity you get. First of all, make yourself sensitive to the people around you. And every opportunity you get, show somebody some love. Every chance you get, whether it be through your words of just, I love you. So as many people as you can get it out to. A secret that I use, if ever my day is not going the way that I need it to, I just got to find some people to love on. Instantly. I'm back in alignment. I'm back in favor. Come on. I'm instantly back in favor and alignment, because if God is love and everything operates on that energy, and that is the strongest universal energy, all I got to do is align myself with that and I'm back in favor. Diego Jinkis said to Audi, God is love that endorses slavery. So remember I said there are universal truths in the Bible, and then there are also things in the Bible that are intentionally put there so that man can fulfill what man's desire is. This is where we start to understand that all of these things are not of God. This is where we understand that part of the trick, watch this, part of the trick is to paint you this image of God, one, so that man can do what man wants to do under the cloak of this is acceptable to God. But two, part of the other half of the trick is if we paint you this image of God in the way that you now perceive God, it creates a separation instantly between you and your creator. That is the game. And that's why we start with love. Because if I teach you love first, then I'm teaching you God first. I don't need to teach you the religion. I don't come in the name of religion. Y'all can argue about that. I'm not here to argue about religion. Y'all can have that. But I'm going to tell you this. When I look out into the world, into this ecosystem, nothing in this ecosystem is enslaved to another thing. Nothing in this ecosystem is enslaved to another thing. In the natural order, when man felt the need to have dominion over other men or over other people, when people thought they can have dominion over other people, that is the root of human suffering. And part of the trick bag is, if I lead you to believe that it is in fact the creator that endorsed my behavior, then one, you can easily comply because you're convinced now that this is endorsed by the creator. But two, it also creates people that feel like how that gentleman felt. If the creator can do that, then I don't endorse that creator. And what I say to you is, I agree with you, but that's not the creator's doing. So we went a bunch of places today, and I'm glad we were able to, and I hope we drove home the point about fear. Anything given to you through the spirit of fear or through the lens of fear, it's not meant to empower you. It's meant to control you. Anything given to you through the lens of fear is not meant to empower you. It's meant to enslave you. Anything given to you through the lens of fear is meant to put you in a constant state where all of your other creative faculties will not serve you because they will be shut down while you're in this perpetual state of fear. If you know that you are a piece of infinity in this vessel, what and who should you fear? Use wisdom. But fear is not of us. I'll have it uploaded either by tonight or tomorrow morning. So again, if you've missed any of this live or if you're just getting here, on my YouTube page, youtube.com/@girl_dad. Same thing here, just the @ after youtube.com/. You'll find all of these lives that we do on Sundays. You'll also find other content that I don't do here on TikTok. You're going to find conversations about healing. That is where we're going to be launching the I Am Healing podcast, where I'll be bringing on different guests out of the healing and light working community that's going to share more resources and tools with you all as you're on your healing journey. And we're going to have guests sharing their testimonies of how they've made it through some of the most challenging times in their life. And not only did they make it through, but through understanding the power of love and understanding the decision that they can make despite what has happened to them, they are living a life and thriving. And that's my goal, to be able to empower those that come to this platform, to empower you with the ability to not only overcome whatever challenges are in front of you, but to empower you with the knowledge and understanding that you were designed to thrive in this life. You were designed to enjoy and have peace in this life. And it is a choice. It is a decision, and everything that you need to make it possible, you already have inside of you. You were designed with perfection. When you make a perfect product, you don't put an 800 number in the packaging. You don't need it. The product works perfectly. All you got to do is tap into how it works. And that's part of what we're here to teach you. I love you all. I appreciate you all being here. Hopefully the conversation was rewarding. It was engaging. You all were able to take something from it. We will be, I'm actually going to start doing a little more lives other than just Sunday. So you guys are going to see me maybe 2 or 3 times a week actually going live and having other conversations around the journal, but also just around healing in general. What I find just through my direct messages and the people that have been reaching out to me, this is powerful and this is impactful. And we're doing this together as a support system to one another, but we're changing people's lives. And if changing people's lives through teaching them about love and teaching them about how they were designed and how they were created and how they are connected to their creator and the power that they have within, if that is contrary to anything that someone believes, then I'm fine with being contrary to what you believe. But I'm going to keep teaching people about love, and I'm going to keep teaching people about how to be healed and how to be whole. So I love you all. Let's keep growing. Let's keep healing. I'm going to leave you with 2 things. 1, love yourself like no one else can. And then 2, love yourself like you expected whoever failed you to love you. Love yourself like you expected whoever failed you to love you. And then lastly, I'll give you this. Harbor no unforgiveness or no resentment. Because your unforgiveness and your resentment is what blocks your supply chain from your endless supply of love. Unforgiveness and resentment is what blocks your supply chain from the manufacturer loading you up with an endless supply of love that will turn you into a distributor and not just a consumer. So when you let go of that resentment and you let go of that unforgiveness and you let go of all of those things, you can tap into the most powerful source that is here in this dimension, and that is the source of love. And once you start living in love and start being a distributor of love, you will never be void of it. I love you all. I will see you all sometime this week. Somewhere on my TikTok homepage, there is a little bell up there so that you'll get notified every time I go live. I don't have a schedule other than what we're doing on Sundays, but I'm going to kind of develop a schedule where we'll have more of a regular live sessions during the week, and we'll specify different topics that I think will be important to you all throughout your week to kind of give you some additional tools on this healing journey. Again, I love you all. Stay in love, operate in love. Don't be a consumer, be a distributor. Distributors have much better deals and connections with the manufacturer. And also, remember, you are a wonderfully made and designed vessel that runs only on 93 premium. That is love. If you're operating out of anything else, your system will eventually break and malfunction because it was not designed to operate on anything other than love. So even as we're having these experiences in our life and these things that may happen to us, we can still come out of every experience and choose to operate on what we were designed to operate on, despite what has happened to us. I love you all. Thank you all for all the love and the support that you showed me. I'm available if you should need me. Hit me in my direct message, or if you need to, you can email me at girldadsos@gmail.com. That's girldadsos@gmail.com. Reach out. I'm open to speaking engagements. I'm actually doing some traveling for some speaking engagements here coming up. I'm opening up my schedule to be featured on podcasts. If you have a podcast where you would like to have a conversation, I'm open to those things. I'm actually going to be on 2 podcasts coming up. One I'm shooting on Monday. Once I get that information, is that tomorrow? I think, yeah, I'm shooting one tomorrow. And then the other one I think is in early October. But I'll put up links to those podcasts so that you all can check it out, check out the conversation. This is my work. This is my purpose. This is what I do. And I'm a vessel of love. I'm a distributor of love. And I keep plugged into the manufacturer because as long as I'm out here doing a damn good job distributing this love, the manufacturer is going to keep me loaded so that I can keep doing what I'm supposed to do. I love you all, and I will see you all on the next one.